Yo, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Tyler Rucker, the creator of Mind of an Athlete, and we got a banger episode today. We have MLB legend Curtis Grandy Man Granderson. What's up, Curtis?
What's going on? Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Let's get straight to it. All right, so you grew up in Chicago and eventually became one of the most respected players in baseball. How did growing up there shape who you became both as a player and a person?
I think it's a mix. Chicago's one of the biggest cities in the US, and I had so many people from all over the world that I got a chance to interact with before I even got to professional baseball. So, credit to the schools I went to, my parents being teachers and just introducing and bringing me around different people. And that helped shape and mold to whatever situation I was going to be in. So that way it seemed comfortable. So, especially as whether I'm playing in a small town or a big city, or I'm playing in the country or I'm playing out of the country, I think it just helped make that transition easy. And I also was blessed to have just a core group of friends that I've stayed in touch with to this day. Like I got a buddy of mine, we've been tight ever since first grade. So to put that in perspective, I just turned 45. So next year we will have been friends for 40 years. And people are in awe when they hear things about that. And I just think, that we each keep each other grounded. They never got too high on me for whatever my career happened to look like. They could joke with me, I could joke with them. And I think all that just helped shape and mold me to the individual, both on and off the field, that I was able to become.
That's very understandable. I got a few guys just like that as well. Were there specific coaches, teachers, and mentors growing up who helped guide you in that direction?
Yeah, so it was a couple of them. So in college, my head coach, Mike D, one of the biggest things he saw in me was that I was very analytic. I could overthink with the best of them. I tried to figure out, okay, if I can do this and this would be the result versus just reacting and enjoying the moment. But knowing that I need to put the work in first. So as long as I put the work in first, just let the work show up once you get out there. And he told me, don't think. I want you to enjoy this and have fun. So from that point, I started writing that underneath my baseball hat as a reminder. Don't think, have fun out there. Like it's the same game I've been playing since I first started when I was 6 years old, when I was trying to emulate the players I saw in the video game or the baseball cards I was selecting or the stars I saw on TV. So as I got older, the only things that changed is the field got a little bit bigger. A few more people started watching, but the game was still the game. So I just had to remind myself, keep it fun. That's why you always saw me out there having a good time, smiling, laughing, never got ejected from a game, and just tried to enjoy it. So I thank Coach Mike D for instilling that in me as a college player, and it's something I've taken ever since.
Before the major leagues, you played college ball at University of Illinois at Chicago. What was that experience like, and how important was your college development for your career?
It was huge for me. I was coming out of high school at 165 pounds, and all the scouts that I would see or get in front of, whether it was at a showcase or a workout or watching our high school games play, would always say, you got to get bigger, you got to get faster, you got to get stronger. He's not going to pan out to be a speedy center fielder or enough power to play in the corner outfield. So the good thing about going to college for 3 years at the University of Illinois Chicago, UIC, is it gave me a chance to work on all those things you told me I couldn't do. So I took them not only as criticism, but as motivation and said, okay, how do I play faster? How do I use this small frame to be as strong as possible? How do I lift and work out consistently the first time and also understand how to work out by myself? Whether it's from baseball, whether it's from mental, whether it's from strength and conditioning and rest. So, all those different things I was able to learn in 3 years at UIC. By the time I was a junior, now I'm 185 pounds. Now I've been able to gain 20 pounds of muscle. I play faster. I'm not necessarily the fastest, but I can play faster. I can be quick. I can get better reads. And all those things they told me I couldn't do, all of a sudden I started being able to do them. So UIC really did that for me on the baseball field. And it was again that coaching staff I had that continued to keep pushing me and let me know that keep doing the work. And once you do the work, just go out there and enjoy it and let the game be what the game is. And had a great time in my 3 years playing there.
And you also have the field's named after you at UIC. So what does that mean to you?
So cool. My head coach, Mike D, was still the coach when that all happened. So we were in the process of, I was going to make a donation back to the school that actually started in a conversation when I was in Detroit with the Tigers. Wayne State University had reached out to me because they were looking to do this summer midnight baseball program on their college field. And they wanted to get student athletes on the field over the course of the summer where they can practice, play, and train and possibly get some college credits. And I was all in. I was super excited. I had just started my foundation in Detroit and we were ready to roll. And then, boom, I get traded to the Yankees. So,
Wow.
all this hype and optimism to put something I thought was going to be amazing there is out the window. So,
Right.
I come home back to Chicago and I'm talking to Coach D and I'm telling him all about it. And he said, "Why don't we do it here?" I said, "You know what? My home is not going to get traded. I may play for a bunch of different teams in the big leagues, but I'm always going to come back to Chicago." And sure enough, we started the conversation, which included getting the stadium built, which is now called Curtis Granderson Stadium, which is so funny to say because it's hard for me to say my own name. So I call it CGS. But with it, we're able to run a lot of youth programming out of there, baseball, softball, and they turf the indoor. So we're able to do it year round
Oh
through my
man.
nonprofit, the Chicago Baseball Educational Academy. So it means more to me than just having the name. It's great to be able to do what I wanted to, and that was to be able to help kids in the area have a safe place to play on a college campus and get a chance to learn and understand and just again like me have fun out there doing the great game that I love.
For sure. So let's move on to the draft day and journey to the majors. You were drafted by the Tigers in 2002. What do you remember most about that draft moment?
So I'm gonna date myself a little bit as you and I are talking here. One of the things we mentioned before we went live, you said you had to switch your rooms because the internet you had in the room wasn't working the best. So that's why we're doing the interviews like we are now.
Yeah.
So 2002, going back 24 years now, we only had dial-up internet. And everything that rolled through the draft would hit the system and then it would eventually post on there. But if everybody's on, it would just jam and it would slow up. So I remember we logged on to my AOL account, got in, the draft starts. So I know I may get drafted today. I have no idea exactly where, but I'm waiting to see if my name gets called. And everything just stops because everyone's logging in. So they announced the first pick and then after that I don't hear anything for quite some time. And then my soon to be agent Matt Brown calls me eventually, says, "Hey, the Detroit Tigers selected you in the third round as the 80th pick." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. That's awesome." And what's funny about it is the Detroit Tigers talked to me last in the entire process. They came to speak to me about 2 days before the draft. I had just had my wisdom teeth pulled, so I could barely talk to them. I was swole up. And interestingly enough, the team I didn't speak to the most was the one that drafted me. And Jerome Cochran was the scout that put my name out there, vouched for me, got me to the top of the board. They were able to select me, and then I was able to start my career with the Detroit Tigers. But I had no idea if I was going to get drafted. I was still registered for all my classes for the fall semester of my senior year at UIC in anticipation that I wasn't going to get drafted and I would just go back to school for my fourth year. But to not only get drafted, but to get drafted as high as I did was a surprise. It was excitement, but it was also just a big accomplishment as well.
And you finished college as well. You got your degree. What was your degree in?
So I had a double major with business management and business marketing. And the funny thing about it is, remember, I got drafted as a junior, so I still had a year and a half of school left to finish. So as I start my minor league career, I have all those classes registered for. So I'm like, let
Mhm.
me see if I can still go to these classes when I get in the off season. And sure enough, I mean, things just started to align themselves. The minor league season finished, call it September, the first week of September, but
Yeah.
school also started that week as well.
Right.
But one of my professors canceled the first week of class for one reason. One of them, their office got switched, so they canceled the first week. The other professor said, "Hey, if it's okay if you miss." So I wasn't behind, so I was able to get that semester done. Now I got a full year left. The next spring, I look at the schedule. I said, okay, let me see if there's any classes I can take before I leave for spring training. Found three that I was able to do, including also registering for summer school, which I took as like an independent study slash I'm going to finish it once I get back because I also was going to get an incomplete in the class. So the coolest thing about it is one, I had some professors that were willing to work with me. Two, I had to actually get one of my assignments FedEx to me in the minor leagues. I had to take it in front of one of my managers to show I didn't cheat. My manager had to sign it. I had to sign it. I had to FedEx it back, get my grade to hopefully pass that class to keep me on pace to graduate on time with my class, which I was able to do in 4.5 years. So with the double major, it was going to take me 4.5, and I was still able to do it in 4.5, all while still starting my professional career. So one of the biggest accomplishments for me, one of the things no one can ever take away from me, and just super excited to be able to have done that.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of MLB guys don't usually finish up with a degree, so that's amazing to hear. So the minor league grind can be a lot for players. What lessons did that period of your career teach you?
Continue to fight through it. There's going to be some things that you see and experience and want to walk away from. And my dad instilled this into me from day one. He said, whenever you start something, you got to finish it. Now, at the end of the year, once you finished it, if you don't want to do it anymore, that's fine. But you made a commitment to come and do this. So you got to get through it. And sure enough, my first year in the minor leagues was great. It was only 2.5 months. It was a ton of fun. It was the adaptation. Our team did well. We made it to the championship. And then that second year was some length. I played 140 games that time. It is hot. We're in Lakeland, Florida. And if you've ever been in the Florida State League, it is a rough league because you have the big, nice spring training stadiums. And in February and March, there's 5 to 10,000 people there, and it's a beautiful place. But come to Florida State League, don't nobody come to those games. We averaged about 300 people at our games in Lakeland. So this was a miserable place to play from all the elements. The field was amazing. The stadium was great, but with no fans, it's tough and it's hot and it's humid. So I'm sitting there going, why am I doing this? Like I don't need to be doing this. I can go do something else. And I got a lot of friends and family at that time that are starting their professional careers in Chicago, and they're calling me up and, hey, I'm at this concert. I just got this job. I'm going to this event. And I'm sitting there hoping we get some fans in the stands. So that year, what my dad told me from day one came back. I was this close to quitting that year. A lot of people don't know it, but I was almost done with the minor leagues and like, you know what? I'm gonna put my degree to work. And my dad said, you got to finish this year. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna finish this year and then I'll make a decision off season. And the last like month and a half of that year, from not only that team I played for in the Florida State League, but we had this thing called instructional league, which is like extended practice later afterwards. Those little time frames and the people I were around like made help me finish strong. So when I was at the end of it, I was excited to keep going. But a few months prior, I was about to mail it in and be done with it. So a big shout out to my pops for being able to say, hey, just see it through to the end and then at that point make that decision. And that's been something that's stuck with me ever since. Like it could be tough. It could be a grind. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. It's going to be hot. It's going to be cold. There may be fans. There may not be fans. But get through it and then assess in the off season what that looks like.
And what was the moment for you in the minors where things really clicked?
It's interesting because my first year I actually played really well. I was like one of the top hitters in the league in terms of batting average. The second year I still played well. The year I thought I was going to quit, I made the All-Star team and I'm out. Like I was still playing well, but I was still like, they had a lot of prospect rankings and evaluations about players. So very similar to college, there were things I was being told that I wasn't going to be able to accomplish at this point. So seeing that, understanding that, continuing to work on stuff. I made some mechanical changes that I needed to at this point, and getting through that '03 season in the Florida State League. Because the craziest part about it is I'm about to quit. And then the next year, almost to the day, I get called up to the big leagues for the first time. So 1 year away from each other, I could have been getting that job I wanted, going to that concert my friends were going to, but I was getting into the big leagues, that dream that I was looking forward to. And as things just kept going, being able to be coachable, but also using the things that helped me get to this point and combining the two seeing it through, I think it just all started to blend itself together. And in that double A season in 2004, again, I played well. Yeah, I started to hit some more homers when they told me I wasn't going to have a ton of pop. I stole some more bases when they told me I wasn't going to have a lot of speed. My batting average was there, and that got me the ability to get called up to the big leagues.
Yes, sir. And who was your first call when you got called up to the big leagues?
So the season finished, and prior to that, the way it typically worked is we would finish whether you got eliminated in the playoffs or the regular season, and then my equipment was worn out. My batting gloves, my fielding glove, my shoes. I ran them to the ends. I mean, some of the stuff had holes or had tape on it or marker colored on it to try to make it look good still. So I would take that and throw it away. And I had just thrown it away. And our minor league coordinator, Glenn Ezel with the Detroit Tigers, was in town. We had just got eliminated in the playoffs. And he said, "Hey, Grandy, I got to talk to you real quick." So he calls me in his office. And I'm assuming he's going to tell me just what my plan is for the offseason. He goes, "Hey, you're going to the big leagues." I said, I was like, "I got to get back." So I got to run to the garbage can before they clean everything out. I got to get my glove out. I got to get my batting gloves out. I got to get my shoes out. So I get everything out, come back in, thank him for that opportunity, get home, call my mom, tell them, and it's late now. It's about almost 11:30 because for some reason that game went late. So I wake them up. They're in panic because, if I'm calling them late, they must think something's wrong. But I was like, no, 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 this is good news. I'm getting called up to the big leagues. And, it's so funny about my parents. And I think, again, that dynamic around me, it all, again, keeps me grounded. So I get called up to the big leagues. I'm going to be in Detroit the next day. I'm not going to play, but I'm going to play the second day. So this is my major league career. And everyone asks, like, "So were your parents there?" And the answer is no, they did not come. Like, "We see the schedule. You coming to Chicago in 2 weeks. We gonna wait and see you when you come to Chicago." They're like, "We got work to do. We'll catch it then." So it was never too big for anyone there, again, from family and friends. And I think, again, all that helped it. So having that call to them, again, as a reminder, like, congratulations, you still got work to do. This is fun and awesome, but we'll see you when we see you. And they did. They saw me in Chicago when I finally came there, and that's where I got my first major league hit.
That's tough right there. That's a great story. You were a big part of the Tigers team that went to the 2006 World Series. What was it like on that run from inside the clubhouse?
Wow, I've always been change is a good thing. And sure enough, the Tigers organization made a lot of changes that year from bringing in manager Jim Leland, who was by far one of the best managers I ever got a chance to play for. Just cool, calm, but energetic, willing to fight for you, and has your back, but also make sure that everybody on the team is held accountable. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie, doesn't matter if you're a future Hall of Famer. He is going to hold the whole team accountable and loved and respected him about that. In addition to, they also bring over, Kenny Rogers, veteran player who's 41 years old at this time. And we have some great young stars, including myself, Justin Verlander, Ryan Rayburn, all make the team. Marcus Timms, a really good friend of mine, he finally makes his first big league team at that point. So they had changed up a lot of different things. Plus, you're bringing back some amazing pieces. Magglio Ordonez is coming off of a knee injury, so he's going to be ready to roll. Pudge Rodriguez, future Hall of Famer, is continuing to keep things going. Placido Polanco, Carlos Guillen, Brandon Inge, just to name a few. And my roommate, Joel Zumaya, who's 21 years old, is on that team. So cool the dynamic, 20-year age gap from the oldest player to the youngest player, experience to rookies, and a manager that just led the ship and kept us going. We get off to a hot start. We played very well to start the season, and people are writing us in automatically to do amazing things. But as baseball will let you know, it'll humble you real quick. And we literally stumble across the finish line to get into the playoffs as the wild card. When
Mm,
3 games prior, we're leading the division. All we got to do is win one game against the last place Kansas City Royals, and we win the division and we start the postseason at home. However, we get swept, and now we got to go to Yankee Stadium for the start of the postseason. So, as much as everyone loved us for the first 6 months of the season, they were ready to write us off and tell us our season was going to be done as quick as it could be. And
yeah,
sure enough, we go out there and we beat the Yankees. Then we sweep the A's and we get a chance to get to the World Series. Unfortunately, we couldn't pick it up at that point, but to go from, you know, being drafted a few years prior to making the team to now getting a chance to be in the World Series. It's just amazing how quick things can happen in this game, especially when you just change and flip some things up there.
You played alongside stars like Verlander and Miguel Cabrera. What made those stars stand out early in their careers?
Justin Verlander, like I said, him and I both made the team in '06. I think his work ethic again gets unnoticed. This is somebody that he's always throwing hard. He's always been confident, but he's able to have the confidence and throw hard because what he does to prepare himself before. I remember seeing him running on the tracks, and you'd see just how strong his legs were and how he would attack the running just like he was attacking the mound and the hitters when he stepped into the game to be ready to pitch. He didn't shy away from the big game moments. He looked forward to it and jumped all in. So I think that was one of the big reasons why he has had such amazing success and still doing it now. I think he's 43 and
Yeah,
playing this year again with the Tigers. So amazing to get a chance to see him firsthand. And Miguel Cabrera was the exact example of what I had written under my hat. Just don't think, go out there and have fun. So Miggy's actually younger than me. I think he's 44. So he's a year younger than me. But when he got traded to us, he was the veteran. He had already been to a World Series.
mhm,
He had already been to a couple All-Star games. I mean, he was the guy. And he came in and people forgot how young he was. So he was still out there having a good time. And people on the outside was like, he needs to focus. He needs to be more serious. He needs to pay attention out there. I was like, nah, that's Miggy. Miggy's that's what gets him to this point. Why are you gonna change him? So as
right.
soon as everyone stopped trying to do that and just let him be himself and do his thing, I mean, he just continued to take off. And especially in Detroit, a ballpark that wasn't homer friendly. He led the league in homers a couple times in
Right.
that ballpark. He got himself a triple crown, some MVPs back to back for that. To say that it was just so cool to watch him and see him work and use his strengths to his abilities and be able to just continue to keep working, but all the same time keeping it so fun while doing all of it. And I just loved him for that.
Let's switch over to your Yankee years now. You got traded from the Tigers to the Yankees. Playing in Yankee Stadium with the New York Yankees is different than anywhere else in baseball, in my opinion. What was that experience like for you?
I'd only played in Yankee Stadium as an opponent up to this point, and of course, it's just iconic. No matter where I travel in the world, if I'm promoting baseball or not, if that conversation comes up, there's places where baseball is not very popular. But the one thing they will say, they go, "Aren't the Yankees a team?" They just know. I mean, the Yankees are popular. I mean, they're in movies and shows and ads and all this stuff, no matter where you've been. And when people come to New York, it's one of their bucket list items of things to do. So to get a chance to have that be my home now was just iconic. It was amazing. I got the core four wrapping up their careers at that point in time with Derek Jeter and Posada and Pettit and Rivera. So watching them work, see why they are so good. Plus just the rest of the talent. A-Rod, Cano, CC. I mean, wow, like and the Yankees historically would always add where they needed. And as they added, I was fortunate to play with Ichiro, Soriano, Vernon Wells, Eric Chavez, all because they would, if we needed them, they went and got them, and they did. So the cool thing about having all those names, there was initial pressure on me. Okay, how do I fit in? How do I live up to the hype in Yankee Stadium? And I just sat back. I said, well, all the pressure's on all these big names. Y'all don't really know me. Let me just do my thing over here and just get y'all in position to do well. And I think that played well for me. Like I didn't have to come in and be the guy because there was already enough guys over there. I didn't have the biggest contract. I didn't have the biggest playing card. So I just had to just do my thing. And I think that helped make the transition smooth and easier than I thought it was going to be when I first got traded over there.
And you talk about not having to be the big guy, but you had a huge 2011 season where you hit 41 home runs. What was working for you that year?
Man, my hitting coach over there, Kevin Long, is one of the best hitting coaches I ever had because he's just super confident. I mean, he will have you believing you can do things that you never imagined just because he's your biggest cheerleader. And I think you need that, especially in a place like New York with the Yankees. So we made a couple changes. And then as I was starting to try to implement those changes, it wasn't feeling the best and what I thought, but he saw it. He said, "You are right there. Let's keep going. Let's keep working." And it made me want to get back in the cage right away. And it made me want to keep working. And as we kept doing that, we were able to make some adjustments to just get that swing more compact, to utilize some of the elements that Yankee Stadium had. People talk about, oh man, you took advantage of the short porch. I'm like, shoot, I didn't build the stadium, but if that's the stadium, I'm gonna do it and try to do what I can. So sure enough, Kevin Long saw that and saw we had the ability to be able to get to the ball correctly. If I did pull it the right way so it stayed fair and be able to be rewarded in doing so. But that also transitioned down the road too. So Kevin Long was great, and I think again that confidence, that excitement, that cheerleader that we forget we need in this game when there is so much failure was such a big thing to have in my career at that point. That was the big key to that year in 2011.
And so you also played for the New York Mets. So you played for two teams in New York, which was pretty cool. Later in your career, you joined the Mets, made another World Series run in 2015. How did that experience compare to your first World Series run in Detroit?
So I learned a lot from that first World Series in 2006. I had kind of gone against the grain all the way up until that point. I was having fun. I was having a good time. I was enjoying the moment. But then in the World Series, I started to put a little more pressure on myself, and I didn't play as well as I wanted to or hoped I would in '06. So I said, if I get back, I'm promising myself I'm gonna have as much fun as I possibly can. I didn't think it was going to take almost 10 years for me to get back there, but I finally get back there in 2015 with the Mets. And I just said, I'm just going to enjoy every moment of this thing and have fun. Again, we didn't win it, but I did that part. I was going to have fun. I was going to try my best to just be able to do everything that it got us to this point and not try to do more. That's the problem. When you get in the big situations, sometimes we try to add, we try to run faster, hit the ball harder, throw it faster, all these things. Everything up to that point has got you to this point. Just stay the course and stay where you are, and things will ultimately get you where they need to. And sure enough, I had, great offensive numbers that World Series in 2015. Fortunately, we didn't get it done, but I wanted to have fun. I had fun. I tried to keep the guys loose and relaxed as best we could, and I think we were able to do that for the most part, outside of winning the whole thing.
For sure, that Mets team had some great names right there. That Mets team had an incredible young pitching staff as well, though. What was it like watching guys like DeGrom and Syndergaard emerge, especially having Matt Harvey as well?
I got a chance to play against the Cincinnati Reds that year, and Joey Votto was a first baseman and one of the best hitters of my generation. And I remember getting on first, and he made a comment to me. He said, "Hey, you know what's so really cool about playing here in New York?" And I'm expecting him to talk about the city, the food, the nightlife, all that stuff. He said, "You don't have to face Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Matz, and Wheeler." I was like, oh, so to hear from him about what it's like facing those guys just put in perspective how dominant that they were already. And it
Right.
was still a lot left in the tank. So I think the five of them built off each other. They knew they were this young nucleus. And then you mix in experience like a Bartolo Colon over there. Again, very similar to my 2016. He's now 41 years old. Syndergaard's 41 or 42, something like that, a 20-year age gap. But that experience, bringing it to those young guys. Kenny Rogers did the same thing with Justin Verlander and Joel Zumaya. And I think you have to have the ability to be able to know you have the talent, but also have someone help hone those skills that has been through there, especially once the season gets so long and you're
Right.
starting to fatigue for the first time. And someone's there in your corner to kind of show you how to get through it. So, a big key to that success, which allowed those arms with the Mets to be as dynamic as they were. And I'm so glad I was on their team and I didn't have to face them.
They definitely gave you guys confidence every night. So what was like, as an offensive standpoint, what was your mindset going into every night?
So interesting. I talked about how great Kevin Long was with the Yankees. And after my first year, he was a free agent. And Sandy Alderson, the general manager of the Mets, called me up. I was actually traveling, I was out of the country. And if I get a call from Sandy, then something's wrong. And he's like, Grandy, I need you to get on the phone, call Kevin Long. He's a free agent. We got a chance to bring him over here. So sure enough, I call him up. tell him how exciting it is over with the Mets. It's still New York. You can come on over. So he comes and joins us as our hitting coach there. So I'm excited. So I get a chance to get back with Kevin Long. And then the rest of the team over there was excited. I mean, Lucas Duda ended up having a 30 home run season there with the Mets, which was hard. That was a hard ballpark to hit in. And everyone's confidence was up. We were one of those first teams that started to be the new change of what you hear now. Let's get on base and let's hit the ball out of the ballpark. So that on base plus the slug. So we were
Mhm.
starting to do that, and he would just focus us in on things like let's just make sure we're swinging at strikes. Let's make sure we're not chasing. And when we get a chance to get in a good count, let's put our A swing on it. That's it. If we can do those things, we got a good shot. And I think those little simple, checkpoints helped everybody, whether you were a call up, whether you were a power guy or not. Like your A swing is your A swing. It
Right.
doesn't mean it needs to go 500 feet. It just means that's the best swing on a pitch that I should be able to do something with. And the results will vary from time to time, but you may get rewarded with the homer. But Kevin Long was big into that. And our whole team with the Mets bought into that. And we had a great run offensively, mixed in with those arms that we were just talking about. And I think that's why we had so much success over there.
100%. That Mets team was definitely special. So we're gonna go talk about the approach to the game. This is for the younger kids at home at this point. So throughout your career, you were known as one of the most respected and thoughtful players in the game. What was your overall philosophy toward baseball and preparation?
It's a team sport, but it's also individual. So yes, at the end, the score is going to say, the Yankees won or lost, the Mets won or lost. But individually, there's a lot of things that you do in order to help the team either win or lose. It's my turn to bat. It's all on me. When the ball gets hit to me, I got to catch it. I got to throw it. I got to do those things. But also at the same time, I need to be able to help the other teammates when it's their situation so they can hopefully be as great as they can be. Because again, the team is going to be the one that wins or loses in this situation. So, first, as a young player, you need to be able to be approached by those mentors, those coaches to learn because you don't know it all at this point. You're just entering the space. You're confident, you're excited, you're talented, but there's no way I can mirror 10, 20 years of experience that someone older than me might have. That includes the coaches, that includes the veteran players, etc. Then when you become one of those veteran players, now it's your turn to help shape and mold the other players coming behind you. Like I never understood when you'd have a difference in age or location or demographic or ethnicities or backgrounds, and players didn't want to come together. They wanted to look at those differences and shy away from them. I mean, if we shy away from them, then how are we going to come together when it's time to come on the field and hopefully beat that team in the other dugout? It's going to be hard to do that when we're divided. So
Right.
that was always my approach. Like we are a team. We may look different. We may talk different. We may eat different food, but I'm gonna find a way to get us together as best I can. So I would invite players out to eat. I would invite you to the house. We would, I come sit by your locker. I would joke with you on the bus. I would mess with you during spring training, but I also had to be around you to understand what made you click. So if you and I are teammates, Tyler, like I need to know, okay, can I joke with you? Do I need to be loud and yell at you? Do I need to sit back? The only way I'm going to figure that out is if I get to know you, and
Right.
vice versa. You're going to get to know me. So that was just my approach to how I took it. And then from there, that allowed all the other stuff to kind of take shape because in those tough situations, all right, Tyler's struggling a little bit. Maybe he is somebody that just needs a good home cooked meal. All right, we going out to eat tonight, right? Or there's a other player like I got to get on him. I got to go, right? That's his thing. And now all of a sudden you see things change and click. It's just amazing how you can be a great teammate and a great player by just understanding the teammates around you and being receptive to them.
100%. I agree with that. If you could give one piece of advice to young players whose goals are to reach the big leagues one day, what would it be?
I think the big thing with trying to get to the big leagues one day is you have to still have goals from where you are now. That's a great big goal to have, but I think you still need to go, okay, how do I get there? Are there things I should be working on now? And you need to be able to accept criticism. Like I mentioned, people told me there's things I couldn't do. I could have got mad, I could have been disappointed, or I said, okay, you're telling me what I need to work on. I need to go work on that. Again, I don't know it all. I'm not going to know it all. There's always ways to improve. So, to a young player, accept that criticism, use that as motivation, and turn that the negative into a positive. And then, as we start to improve, there's going to be another one that comes up, in high school, or another one that comes up in college, or another one in pro ball. Even when you get to the big leagues, there's going to be things for you. So, I think that's the biggest piece of advice. Accept that criticism, use it as motivation to turn it into a positive.
And so now we're going to talk about your life after baseball. Since retiring, you stayed connected to the game through broadcasting and mentorship. What has that transition been like for you?
It's been fun. It's been fun to watch it on this side of the game, especially from a broadcast standpoint. You're seeing things unfold. There's still some players that I play with that are still out there, so that's cool. Plus, I'm learning about a lot of the young and exciting players and, seeing them go through it and establish themselves and just trying to provide insight into what it's like to be the players in that moment. And from a fan standpoint, like people forget, we're still fans. Like we enjoy,
Right.
we went to games as kids. We watched teams play. We weren't just always playing. We were fans too, just like all the fans that get to watch. So to be on this side and to try to provide that perspective is always great. And then from a mentor side, people help me in so many different ways, whether it was a neighbor, whether it was a teacher, a coach, a parent, a family member, a teammate. And now I'm in a position where ultimately I can try to do the same thing for other individuals, whether that's connecting you with the person that might be best suited for you or the opportunity for you or being able to talk and or listen to you depending on what's going on. And I just feel like it's a full circle moment because I'm not here if it wasn't for all the people over the course of my life that helped me get here. And now I'm in a position where hopefully I can help the people I speak to get to where they want to get to.
And so is there any part of playing that you miss the most? And is there also anything you don't miss from playing?
The craziest part, I missed the travel. I know a lot of people go to travel. Isn't that the toughest part? I said, yeah, but for me, I just like going and exploring and seeing different things, not only across the country, but around the world. And baseball did that for me. Like it gave me so many places to be able to go to, and with a lot of friends and family that lived in different parts of the country or the world, it was so much easier for me to see and connect with them if I was in their hometown. Like I'd be down in the Tampa area. I'm able to see y'all. It's easy for you to say, hey, come over to the house to eat versus me saying, hey, when you come in town, let's try to make it work. That may or may not work. I'm in your backyard when I come in town to play. And then the different cities and markets that we played in, I wanted to try the food in those places. So in Kansas City, I was getting some barbecue. In Seattle, I was getting my seafood and my teriyaki chicken and all the things in between. So I really miss that. The one thing I'd say I probably don't miss is, you know, I didn't love the autograph like hounds. I don't mind signing autographs. I wanted to get autographs as a kid. If you're at the stadium and you got there and you're a kid and you're hoping to get that, great. But those people, and they know who they are, that find the hotel you're staying at
Mm,
and stay out there and follow you to the restaurant and know your schedule, and then get disappointed if you say no. Remember, we're not obligated to do this. Or I
right,
try to provide alternatives. If you're as big of a fan as you're telling me are, let's take a picture, right? Oh, I don't want the picture. I don't want the picture. But can you sign this? Man, I thought you said you was a fan.
right.
So that part I definitely don't miss of the game.
Yeah, we all know exactly what you mean out there. So you played for multiple iconic franchises. Which ballpark atmosphere stands out the most to you?
Let's see. So two sides to that. My two favorite stadiums are Anaheim and Baltimore to play in. I feel like they were great hitters ballparks. They had great turf to run on. Now Baltimore has since changed some of the dimensions there, so it's different than when I played there. But I loved playing there. I loved playing in Anaheim, and part of the Anaheim experience was the environment at that time. So my first time playing there was in 2005, and they had just won the World Series, I think in '02. So
Mm,
they were packing that stadium, and people
right.
forget. I think it's the third, if not fourth, oldest stadium, and it's one of those old stadiums were big stadiums. So they
Hmm.
would average, high 40,000 fans. And their owner at the time did a great job of allowing it to be very affordable. I mean, parking was like 10 or 20 bucks. Then they had these packages where you got a shirt, a hat, a hot dog, and a drink for like 40 bucks. So the place was packed and they were
Yeah.
all wearing Angels gear. Plus, they were good. So I get a chance to play there in 2005, and they had this thing called the Rally Monkey. And whenever their team would get behind, this rally monkey would start jumping up and down on the screen, and that 40,000 fans would start going nuts. And like clockwork, we'd start to give up the lead. And sure enough, here they come. And we would be winning the whole first 7 innings of the game and end up losing that game. And I was like, I loved and hated that rally monkey for so many reasons. It was amazing. It got the fans going, but man, they would beat us when that thing would start jumping up and down. So that was a cool and fun environment that I'll always remember playing in.
Is there a stadium that seemed to be where you played your best at?
Where I played the best, those two are up there. I really like playing there. Um, let's see. Yeah, I'd say those two definitely have to be in the mix. And I'd say Yankee Stadium was cool. I always loved playing there. Detroit was great for all the triples. So I don't know if I had a favorite to play in terms of where I had the best stats, but probably those four were probably in the mix.
Okay, so over your career, you played with so many talented players. If you could build your all-time lineup from teammates, who are you picking? And you have to put yourself in the lineup.
I'm in the lineup. All right. Well, then let me play center. Then I'll go out there and play center and do that. So to my left and right, this dude was so funny. So he's my right fielder. That's going to be Maglio Ordonez. Him and I would just look at each other and just laugh all the time. And this dude can hit. I mean, he hit 363 one year, 200 plus hits. I know average isn't the hugest thing now, but hits are hits.
It's
Plus,
for
he can hit you out
sure.
the ballpark. So he's my right fielder. In left, I'm gonna say, let's see, I gotta go through my list of players I had in left. Da, 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 da. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna come back to left. At first, I gotta go Miguel.
Mhm.
The back-to-back MVPs, amazing there. At second's a tough one because I had some really good second basemen. I talked about Maglio hitting 363. Well, that same year, Placido Polanco hit like 360. So this dude just gets hits. But I also had Robinson Cano playing second base
Yeah,
too, so he can get hits and hit the ball out of the ballpark. So I'll go Cano starting with Polanco on the bench. At short, the captain, Jeter.
yeah.
I mean, this dude just is amazing in terms of how he treats people, how he makes people feel comfortable, and does it all while winning in New York. So he's at short. At third, I think this is one of the smartest guys I've ever played with. This is a baseball mind. That's A-Rod.
Yeah.
His numbers are off the charts. And when you hear him talk about the game, he just knows and breaks it down. Behind the plate, yeah, give me behind the plate. I'll go Pudge behind the plate. But,
Okay.
that's a tough one. I had Russell Martin, I had Posada, so yeah, I'll go Pudge behind the plate. On the mound, he's still pitching, so he can pitch right now. That's Verlander. I'll take him pitching right now. Out of the bullpen, tough. I'm gonna go two. I'm gonna go Mariano and I'm gonna go Joe Zumaya.
Okay.
Like in a day and age when we talk about velocity, Joe Zumaya was throwing 104 20 years ago. So like people forget, like he was that dude, man. He came out throwing that. Man, it was coming out hot. Dude had tattoos of flames on his arms. So he was at 104 back then. So those are my two. He'll be my eighth inning guy, and Mariano my ninth inning guy. And then in left, because I would have loved to see this player have a full season. He never got a full 5 to 600 at bats. And even with the few at bats he did, this guy hit 26 homers and like 2 to 300 at bats. And that's Marcus Timms.
Yeah.
If he's out there every day, man, this dude's gonna hit 40. No questions asked. He was able to see things on pitchers that I still don't to this day don't know how. We're in San Francisco and we're facing, I don't know if he was back to back, but he had definitely just won a Cy Young, and that was uh the freaky franchise. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank on the name. I gotta get the name for you. He was with the Giants. Hold on.
While he's getting that, if everyone didn't know, we also did an interview with Marcus Timms earlier in my episode. So go back and check that out as well.
Tim Lincecum, that's him. Tim
Tim
Lincecum's
Lincecum?
coming off a
Okay.
Cy Young, and righties can't hit him, lefties are struggling against him, and in San Francisco it's cold, so the ball doesn't go. And Marcus is in the lineup, and Marcus hits two homers off of him. I said, man, what you got? He goes, man. So what he would do is, and I'm gonna try to stand up and show you this. So Lincecum would go like this, and he would drop his hand back like that. And when
Yeah,
he dropped his hand back like that, Marcus could see that ball, and he
that's
knew
crazy.
every pitch was coming. So think about that. That hand's behind, then it has to come up, and you still got to find it. And he was able to put those two things together and take advantage of guys. And to do that for 500 at bats, man, he was wearing guys out. So he's going to be my left fielder. And then I need a DH.
Yeah,
So my DH in the whole mix, one of my coolest teammates, Lucas Duda. I'll put him as my DH there. So that's gonna be my roster. I think we got a good shot. We got a lot of lefties in the mix, some righties, and some good arms. So I think we got a good team.
man, you talked about that story with Marcus. He was telling me about his first career home run, his first at bat off Randy Johnson. So
Oh,
it's one of the ones for sure.
hey, I mean, you start looking at some of these names he's got. I mean, he hits those guys like if you give any sort of tip or tail, he learned that in the minor leagues and was able to use that in the big leagues. They just wouldn't put him in the lineup all the time. I was like, this dude crushes when he's in the lineup. Get him out there.
Right. All right, so let's go into the last segment. It's rapid fire.
Let's
So
do it.
quick answers to these questions. You ready?
Let's do
Toughest
it.
pitcher you ever faced.
Brad Hand,
Favorite MLB stadium.
Anaheim,
Best clubhouse DJ you played with.
me,
Okay. Favorite pregame meal.
French fries,
One teammate everyone should know more about.
Marcus Timms.
Marcus Timms. All right, so go check out the video with Marcus Timms and go learn more about him right there. All right, Grandy, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. Appreciate you
Oh,
coming.
no problem at all. This was great. Keep doing your thing and good chatting with y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.